greetings. Welcome. You have just tuned into South Star Classroom, episode 211. I'm Jubilee. We got Omar Yanar, we got the Doc Charles Cole III, and we got David Castillo. And we are going to start out with my favorite part of the show, check-ins. Omar Yanar, what's going on? How you doing today?
Oh man, I am doing very well today. Actually, it's sunny outside. Just came back from Denver. It was sunny as hell. It was beautiful. Doc, I think you'd appreciate this, man. New gun, new clips.
Okay.
Yeah, nuts. It's the James Bond gun. My buddy Julio and I think between the two of us, shot off about 400 rounds while we were at the shooting range. That's a lot of rounds. Are you at that level? You shooting off 400 rounds when you go?
Maybe not 400, but I tend to do pistols. Y'all was on some other stuff, but
No, that was handgun.
okay. Well, I go through about 3 boxes. It depends on what I'm working on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. That's pretty
If I
good.
rent, I take my own pistols, but sometimes I do other stuff. But I just try to get better with my own stuff.
Right. That's the idea, man. All right. So doing all right. We all right over here, Jubilee. How are you?
Nice.
How
I'm
are
I'm doing
you?
great. It's November, November 4th to be exact. I did not realize that on November 1st, Christmas season was starting.
Hmm.
Today I heard jingle bells. I
Yep.
wasn't ready.
Oh yeah.
The clocks went back on Sunday. I also wasn't ready. I was still trying to wear my flip flops for at least another 6 weeks. Unfortunately, can't do that on the East Coast. So, despite all of that, I am doing great.
Man,
Yes, I'm doing great. Doc, how you doing?
I am. This is how I'm doing. This is my drink of choice right now.
Mm.
I have some travel tomorrow to an undisclosed place. Getting ready for that. Man, I don't want to kill it. Well, I won't go into the full details. I almost had to draw on somebody. Oh, it was some young
Oh,
some
Mm.
young kids. I
the
have
youngins.
I have tents across in my car, so you can't really see any like limo tents on the. They're legal in the back seats, but they're on the front seats as well. And they just were doing, it's kind of like I don't know if they was trying to do a jacking or whatever. But then when I rolled the window down, and they kind of saw me, saw the cloud of smoke or whatever. You could see they was holding something, and they just kind of drove off. But it was
That's scary.
it be like that, man. It happens.
That's scary, dude.
I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But it was cocked and ready. But
Yeah.
by the grace of God, none of that happened. I'm good though, man. I think it's a lot happening. It is dark here. Same for Jube. So I know if it's dark in Chicago, it's dark out there. But
Mm.
I miss Oakland at times. I miss the Oakland I lived in. I don't really miss this new Oakland. I'm gonna be honest with you. But one of my favorite things though about moving back this way is fall. Like I
Mm.
Mm.
miss seasons. I love seasons changing and changing into fall is the most beautiful. I think changing
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
summer to fall is more
Yep.
beautiful than from winter to spring. I
Yep.
love fall.
Agreed.
I love the Christmas, the crispness in the air. It just
Hmm.
feels different. And Christmas is my favorite holiday. So I want to hear, Christmas carols and stuff like that. And we got some folks that go around caroling and stuff, man. It's really
Aw.
cool. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to driving through the bougie neighborhoods where the people are competing for Christmas lights.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
hope it happens before Thanksgiving. So I'm excited for this episode that Jude put together, and that's
Yep.
my check-in.
Hell
Love
yeah.
it. David Castillo, he was giving thumbs down for the.
I know he was because he's in Surfland for
all
Yep.
year long. See, he's got the chancletas, baby. Like I want to wear those. I want to wear those all year round. But I do also.
It's
I love the
I mean,
change.
it's getting chilly here. I had to pull out some long sleeve shirts
Chili
this weekend.
dogs.
So
Long
Oh,
sleeve shirts.
what was
This
it?
guy.
Was it a
This
freezing 69
this
degrees for you,
guy.
David?
yeah, it was terrible. Interesting that you say that because or not about the temperature, but I think people are really on edge, or they are on edge.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of road rage incidents lately where I've just gone and attacked people. No, not me. The other way. The other day I was driving with my son. I think I was taking him to school or taking him to band practice, and I pulled in front of a bunch of cars, like getting onto another street, plenty of room, and some guy all of a sudden is like right on my tail, and he's honking, and he goes around me in front, and he stops his car and he gets out of his car.
That's like the same thing that happened with me. They did.
I've seen these videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he was a younger guy, and I was just like, what? I'm like, you have to go, man. There's cars behind me. There's people around honking. And it was about to be a big incident. And my son was like, don't get out of the car. And I was like, okay, I won't get out of the car. And I didn't. And the guy just ended up like, yelling at me for a second. And I was like, what do you want, dude? Move your car. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And then he got in his car and he came to the other side, and he's like, continued to yell at me. And then he sped off. And I was like, that guy is on the edge. I had a conversation with my son.
Not a glory though. Not on the edge.
There are people out there that are like on the edge.
Yeah.
This is
I'm
what
on
I'm
the
saying.
edge.
This is
You
what
gotta
I'm
know
saying,
it, man. You gotta know it. So you gotta be able to
this is
respond.
like Dr. Charles Cole's got that Glock.
I mean, I do. And there's a sell on Glocks right now because I think they're about to get rid of Glock, or something's happening with Glock. But anyway, it's not that type of show. And I don't like guns. And I was terrified, by the way, people. I'm just telling y'all, I don't like guns. But I
thought
do
Charles
love
already
my
checked
rights.
in. Didn't he check in already?
I know. I did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I didn't, people were going on the gun thing, so I had to, I had to do a PSA.
This weekend, I'm going to Colorado. I'm going to the epicenter of education reform. It's called BlackRock or Lone Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, BlackRock is a corporation that's like,
Yes.
doing bad things, right? I'm going to Lone Rock. It's my first time in Lone Rock. If you have any recommendations,
I thought you'd been to Lone Rock before. Oh no, we went somewhere else. I took you somewhere.
I've been to Aspen, but never been to Lone Rock.
I thought you were. We went somewhere else, but you would love Lone Rock then. You will be able to do your jogging. They got a pool. They got hot tubs and stuff. So you should be good.
Oh yeah, that's right outside of Denver.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It is beautiful.
We're having the Pahar cohort reunion. I mean, it's been so long. I think the last time we were together as a cohort was like, honestly, in January, whenever the year that the wheels fell off of the bus, with COVID, before COVID hit, right there, we were in New Orleans, and then that was it, man.
Oh, so your cohort wasn't meeting at Lone Rock. So that Pahara and Lone Rock have now officially combined. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got you. Wow. Have fun, bro.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I thought it's some David shit. Like he'd like it. Like I won't like. I'm like David would like this. It's nice.
I love it. So there you go.
Well, thank you for sharing. Look at us all checked in. While that was going on, I have 2 dogs in my house. I have Meadow Rose, and I have my fur niece Amber, who were both letting the person who rang my bell know that he is not welcome here, and he is at the wrong address. So I missed out on some of it, but I'm glad that we got to be connected.
I got to share one more animal story.
Go for it.
This morning, I made breakfast for me and my wife. I cooked up some flour tortillas, some refried beans, some scrambled eggs with chorizo. She's a vegetarian, with cheese and some salsa.
Mama cooked up breakfast with no hog.
Guacamole. So I made breakfast burritos. I made hers. I took it in. She was working. I made mine, brought it to the table in front of my computer because I had a meeting, and went to the bathroom. Came back, and my dog had single-handedly devoured my breakfast burrito within probably
damn, it's a good ass burrito.
And then you had to take him out a few hours later so he could dismiss your steps.
I was so looking forward to eating that thing. I mean, I made it. I haven't had And that's how my day started. It's been like that ever since.
David, I feel like you have to know better, David. I feel like you know better.
I trust people.
Yeah, and you know what? I have so many food stories like that with dogs. You just keep giving them the benefit of the doubt because you're thinking, they don't want this, or you forget, you just run to
They want
wash your
everything.
hands or whatever. They do, but it's just like
Omar's dog is perfect, so he doesn't have those problems.
right. Omar's dog is
That
one of the
Omar's
cutest
dog.
dogs I have ever seen in my life. Oh my god.
My dog is perfect too. It makes no mess. I don't have to feed it to do nothing.
Your
It's great.
invisible dog, right? Right.
Incredible. A tummy dog.
Terrible. All right, let's get into it. So today's topic is zoned in, pushed out. All right. So we're just digging into the policies and practices shaping education for our communities here at South Star Classroom. And we're talking about something that we don't see, but we feel every day, and that's school attendance zones. These are these invisible lines, they're on a map, they shape our children's futures. And as simple as neighborhood school sounds, the way we draw those lines has real consequences for equity and opportunity, especially for Black and Brown students. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Zone schools, boundary schools, neighborhood schools. Those are all of the synonyms for it. So we've got zoned or boundary-based school assignments. What are they? It basically means children attend schools where they live, right? It's determined by their home addresses. And the idea is originally supported by local school access and transportation efficiency. But there is a challenge with this, and that is that when neighborhoods are segregated, either by policy, economics, history, school zones often reproduce that segregation. And so the real question becomes, are we assigning opportunity based on zip code? Okay, and so I know we all had probably a chance to kind of look at some of the articles, but there's decades of research on this, and there's recent studies, and they basically tell us the same truth, that boundaries matter. They determine access that our children have to advanced coursework, experienced teachers, effective teachers, well-funded programs, and safe facilities. And when those lines reinforce housing segregation, Black and Brown children are more likely to attend under-resourced and high poverty schools. And that is not an accident. It is a policy outcome. And so I just want to share a couple of examples of policy in different places. And then we've got 3 questions that we might get to, but there's one that I really want us to tackle, which I'll share momentarily. So Los Angeles, they have zones of choice, right? Students can choose among schools within geographic zones. Families get more flexibility. Studies show mixed achievement outcomes, meaning choice alone isn't enough unless paired with program quality and support. And then in San Francisco, they also use zones of choice. Cambridge, Massachusetts, they have an example of controlled choice. And I found an article that was dated probably about 4 years old. But families rank schools in this controlled choice model. Assignments aim to balance socioeconomic diversity. Research shows that there's greater integration, but success depends on the community outreach and transportation access. And then some of my research, I found that there's like a lot of pushback for this model from the community that has to endure the change. In Charlotte, Mecklenburg, there's ongoing attendance boundary reviews that aim to address overcrowding and inequity. And it's public, it's a push-pull, and it shows how intense boundary politics can be. So these are some examples of that. So some words that we might throw around in our conversation today, controlled choice, and accessible transportation, transparent boundary reviews, and the common denominator is intentionality. And to remember that equity doesn't happen organically, it has to be designed. And so couple of questions, right? One, I'm going to take your initial reactions first, but the first question is going to be around who benefits from these school boundaries and who gets left out. So let's start first with initial reactions to the information I just shared, which is a lot, but just framing our conversation for today. I'm throwing it to you, David.
Yeah, that's a big question. Who benefits? I would say some students benefit, some families benefit. Wealthier families that can afford to live in neighborhoods that are zoned to specific schools that have, additional resources. They might get the same like bucket of budget money from the school districts, but they're able to raise money for additional programs, music, arts, whatever it might be. On that front, I think also, I think school districts, in a certain way, benefit from having these like limited enrollment practices in place. You make it harder for a family to attend even another school within the district, a public school. We're not even talking about like charter schools or private schools. So really, it's a way to capture enrollment, and enrollment drives funding for school districts. So I think they're the beneficiaries too. I've got more to share, but we'll wait till we get there, because I have some stuff to share about school districts that have district choice, and then school districts that even go above and beyond that and promote other options to families.
Yeah. Omar, what about you? What are your initial thoughts?
Same, Omar.
I
agree.
So like, here's the shit. All right. The problem is always going to stem with savvy parents, which is great. Good for them. Rich parents, affluent parents. Because like, here's what's up. You're in a boundary zone. You're stuck at your school, and that really nice school that's probably mostly white, got all the money, got all the property costs that are funneled in to support that school, because while it's supposed to be spread around, we all know it's not. So then you get into, and I'll get into it later in the show, you get into open enrollment, which is cool, right? Like, it's a great idea to provide open enrollment. El Paso now has it between its school districts, but then it often favors the rich, the savvy, the well-informed. Because how are you going to get that transportation over there? That's one thing already. Okay, you can drive there, mama can drive there, daddy can drive there, grandma can drive you, whomever. B, how do you even know that's the good school? C, how are you even allowed in? Because what they won't tell you is that, dude, they're all looking at like grades and at attendance policies, and that school could just be like, yeah, no, we're the highest rated school. Everyone wants to come in here. We're just like cherry picking kids who want to come into this joint. And while they say they don't, we all know that they do. Like there's like, that's some bullshit that they ain't looking at that stuff. Which I think it gets to the point, Jubilee, is that we have a huge issue with equity. How can every kid go to a great school? Like, that's what we want, but we ain't got it. And I'll tell you, that's some bullshit.
Agreed, Doc.
I don't have much to really add. I think I don't know if I have strong feelings about it. I kind of just always expect things to kind of be what they are, and knowing that we're on our own. Listen, I understand the undercurrent of like Brown versus Board and why people did like it, but I don't. I'm not offended when I see an all black or all brown or all Arab or whatever school. It's not
all Arab. They got those.
Somewhere.
Yeah, me and the Habibis hanging out, man.
Yeah, they do. They got a lot of things, and I think, and so I don't know. I mean, I'm interested. Like, I'm listening to the data, but
yeah,
I'm probably gonna be kind of on the other side of a lot of that, in the sense of like, I think things are set up in racist structures and all that, and I already know that these things aren't necessarily going to benefit us. So I'm thinking, well, how do we get the most out of these things? That's why I focus on trying to help people look at data, see what works for them, know what good and bad is for them, and let them make the decisions for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what inspired me to do this episode is because, again, I'm always comparing New York to Maryland, and in New York, we had choice. I mean, I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, so my school district wasn't the best, but that's where I lived. That's where I taught. I went back to teach there. I went back to lead there, and I still lived in the community. And if that was your zone school, right, all it meant, right, was that you had priority to attend the school, but it didn't mean that that was your only option.
Mm-hmm.
And so that then moving down here, and it's like, oh no, it's a boundary school. It's your address. It is your only choice. Blew my mind. Right. And so, you know, I recently just moved, and I'm still in Bowie, right? I just moved less than a mile away. But the point is that the fact that my kids go to a boundary school made my search that much more stressful, because if you move too far out of the line, now you're in another county and you can't go there, or you're in the same county, but you can't go to that school because your address only. And if you move too far out of the line, you lose your busing, right? So it just feels like this video game that is just set up and designed for you to fail, you know, at the end. And I think it just stomps out choice, and that's always a red flag for me. The amount of work that what you have to do as a parent to try to shift that or change that is astronomical. And when you think about, okay, like what you were saying last episode, Charles, like someone like me who has the education, I have the resources, and now I have colleagues in the system, right? That I would still have to go through some kind of special approval, special application if I said I wanted to take my sons out of their high school to go to another high school elsewhere. The amount of work that I would have to do just to appeal them changing their school, I mean, could be months, right? And has to go all the way to the school board. And so I think these systems are really designed to, I mean, for control. And we know that there definitely are racist systems beneath them. But I think ultimately what upsets me about it is just the limiting of parent choice. And so even when you employ or empower families with the information and all of that, you are told, you live here, you go to the school there. And you're like, the school's a F. What do I do? And it's like, you know, so anyway, those are my initial thoughts. Anybody else have initial thoughts before I go take us to our first question?
I mean, I think in a perfect world, neighborhood schools are great, right? So you have an option to go to your neighborhood school. And I think in a perfect world, you know, the neighborhood school might be just a general kind of like, you know, elementary, a regular middle, a comprehensive high school. And then in addition to that, so you're not necessarily opting into, you're not going from your neighborhood to attend another neighborhood school, but maybe you're going from your neighborhood to attend like a magnet or a charter, right? Or a vocational school. So something that's like not quite offered that draws people in from other areas, right? But I mean, I think there's, I don't want to over or understate this, but I think there's tremendous value in families and children that are connected to schools that are in their communities. That's what creates community.
Absolutely.
At the same time, I'm not going to say you have to go to your community school if it's like, you know, not a good place for children. So that's on the system to figure out how to do those things.
Yeah. And thank you for lifting that language, neighborhood school. I mean, I grew up going to my neighborhood schools, you know, and honestly, my belief is that every single neighborhood school should be a great school. That to me is the truth. Like, you should be able to roll out of bed, throw something on, walk 5 minutes, and be at a great school. That honestly is the America I would love to live in, right? Because you don't have to worry about whether or not you have high quality teachers. You know, you have a principal that cares. You have somebody who's going to make sure that you're, you know, doing your very best. You're safe. You're all the things. Every school should have that, right? And so I think that is also a part of my issue, that we're having these conversations because we know it exists in some places and not others. Okay, Charles, you had something before I
go ahead?
All right. So if you could push one policy tomorrow, right, whether it was redrawing boundaries, guaranteed transportation, or controlled choice, which do you think would move the needle most for equity? I'll say it again. If you could push one policy tomorrow, redrawing boundaries, or guaranteed transportation, or controlled choice, which do you think would move the needle most for equity?
This multiple choice question that we boxed into.
Well, you got
Take it out
pick
the
one, and then you
box,
can throw
baby.
another one if you
Take it
want.
out the
I
box,
don't know if
baby.
controlled
Yeah.
choice is actually choice. But I would say B with a caveat, and B of just around transportation. One, that was one of the biggest issues we faced at OUSD was how many miles kids were traveling. And Oakland is relatively small, so that's just something to point out. But I also just think that now, in addition to that, I think you should be able to go to a myriad of schools at once. I think we've seen what was possible during COVID. We see a lot how many universities you're doing remote learning and things like that from. I think you should be able to go to your home school, but maybe the school across town has a different specialty and you're able to kind of visit there and do things. I think we should be past this to a place where we can have a more holistic kind of educational space. But I would say transportation, that way people can you still have your spot reserved at your local school. And listen, I do get annoyed with boundaries and things like that because it is races and classes in a lot of ways. And I also understand that when you got a lot of different families and a lot of different kids and X amount of schools, you have to have some type of system that kind of makes that work. But that's what I would say. I think you still got access to your home school, but if you are able to get into any of those other schools, transportation should not be an issue. And whoever does actually figure that out for a large mass of people will be seen as a hero or incredibly wealthy. And that's the cat that did not eat David's food.
Hello, cat.
Maybe the cat did eat the food, but framed the dog. That's what the cat did.
What's the cat's name again, David? Charles is on his comedian stuff today.
He's got a bunch of different names.
Okay.
we call him. He's got big furry legs, so we call him culottes.
Culottes. Okay, gotcha.
Como se dice culottes in English?
Culottes.
I mean,
they're like old Victorian era like pants, you know.
Oh, okay. Culottes.
Yeah, I didn't know
culottes. I wore culottes. Okay. All right. Okay, so Charles, you said guaranteed transportation. That's what you think. Okay. Omar, what do you think?
No, I was literally on that trajectory, but let me take it in a different direction. Like, okay, figure out the transportation thing so that like this kid can get to this school, combine it with David's idea. It's like we got this like really cool portfolio of schools. And I think it needs to start getting into significantly more almost like Europe. Here's this really great school that's going to be focused on the arts, on the sciences, on the trades. And kids have these choices of saying, here's an area of interest. And therefore, I want to go to this school because it is feeding into that interest, which may start dissolving things like financial equity, race equity issues, all that. You provide the transportation and you're set. The problem is, imagine these cowardly fucking leaders, right? Dealing with parents of legal means, financial means. This has been the problem, right? Of these like very rich schools. And they're like, well, sorry, kids, you have to, we're rebounding everything. And now we're displacing kids all over the place and creating this equity. And we're busing you across town. Denver tried it. It failed miserably. And part of the reason, sadly, that it failed miserably is that it didn't really create the gains that they wanted to gain. But unfortunately, you have very angry parents who didn't want to go out of their neighborhood, didn't want to send their kids across town, didn't want their kids mixing. Some of them had lawyers and very angry, I want to talk to the manager tones with a school board. School board wasn't cool because they're elected officials and they want to get elected again. So the boundary thing becomes this really terrible situation that has been tried. Seattle, Denver, didn't work. I think the transportation is where it's at, but you've got to be able to fix, I think, in my mind, the high school focus, but it leaves, what do you do with elementary and what do you do with middle? And it goes back to comments that we heard with our audience, which is you need to just create these radically great neighborhood schools that are elementary. I don't want, if I had elementary school kids, I don't want them going to the other side of town.
Right.
I want them to go to this like sweet little school that's close to me, that I can go walk to the school or a quick drive so I can go visit them, hang out with them, play, room parent and all that good shit. And make that shit maybe a K-8 so that like it is good and it is neighborhood driven. Then rearrange the entirety of the high school structure to be significantly more concentrated like a college, so that we start getting out of the necessity of sending every kid to university and college. Is some bullshit. You fix the transportation, now you're only transporting for the most part in very large distances the high school kids instead of the middle school and the elementary school kids.
Fair enough.
Like I don't need my first grader going all the way to the other side of fucking town, dude. Like some of these towns are huge too, man. Looking like El Paso, like you can drive one side of town 30 minutes. Denver,
yeah. Chicago,
dude. Los Angeles,
yeah.
New York, Chicago. Like what? You gonna spend 2 hours each way on a bus? Fuck that shit.
In New York, I'm telling you, in New York, it was happening, especially when charter started to boom. It was happening because like now you're desperate, right? Because like I don't know, somebody came into elementary school and did something, or there's always these lockdowns, or there's shootouts in the community, and the teachers are really dedicated, and the principal really cares, but I don't feel like the community is safe. So desperation, I think, pushed families and like the availability of charters, but maybe they weren't in your immediate area. But like if you put your kid on a bus at 5 a.m.,
yes,
they can get to school for 7 a.m. and that
right.
they're safe, and their school day is from 7 a.m. to 4 and 5 p.m. That's a little bit of childcare in there for me. Like there were a lot of different like incentives that caused, I think, some families that I've come across in my career, especially in New York, that took that transportation and ran with it because of what it helped them access and what it provided. Now I'm sure that there's like a lot of cons. That's a long day for a 6-year-old, or elementary school kid, but it definitely provided choice and options. Yeah. David?
I think the easy answer is transportation, but I agree. That's like a Band-Aid fix. So it doesn't fix the issue of the challenge that school districts face is like when they open choice within the district, they're essentially admitting to the fact that like there are many schools within the district that, parents do not want to send their kids to. Just busing kids off to other schools it doesn't help to fix it. It actually works against the interests of the remaining families and students in those schools that continue to lose enrollment. And when we talk about, it's so interesting. Like school choice has become a big like national buzzword, but a lot of people, I think primarily in like, in blue states or heavily like blue cities, like school choices, they don't even really know what that means. But school districts have always been exercising school choice within the district parameters, by allowing students to say like, you're going to go to this neighborhood school, or you can apply to like 2 other schools and we might let you in there. Like that's school choice, right? But you have to get your kid there. You have to even, going back to Omar's comment, you have to even know that that's an option for you to petition for, right? I mean, that's the story of our K-12 journey. We when my son was getting ready for kindergarten, these crazy people offered me a job to run a charter school in Oakland that was in very high demand at the time. And they're like, you want to take this job? If you take the job, your kid will get automatic entry. We know where you live. We know what school your child is zoned to.
Damn.
And
we're watching you from afar.
No, I mean,
we just know it's just mapped out.
Charles knows a lot of these players.
Right.
I mean, we bought a house. We bought a house in Deep East Oakland before we had a child, and the schools around us were like,
yes,
they're like the 0%. We lived in a proficiency desert, and And I'm like, I'm not sending my kid to that school. And so, yeah, we ended up, working our way to the charter because of my job there. And then once that ended, we, petitioned to go up the hill like a lot of families do. And we drove, but we probably passed 6 schools on the way to get to the elementary that we ended up at within the district. And that school sucked too. And so then we ended up moving down here and like literally did the thing that we're talking about now. We bought a home, in an area in a school district that we knew was like good, because we could, we had the ability to do that. A lot of families don't. And even with high school, we had the petition to attend another high school here in our district. It wasn't that complicated, but I'm like, I don't know. What if they say no? What are you going to do? So it's so complicated. It's very complicated. And I could go back to like my story and being a student in K-12, and that's even more complex. But, parents are they're going to figure out a way for the most part. And unfortunately, some parents don't have the ability to do that, whether if it's financially or information wise, or they're just like working like 12, 15 hours a day. And then their kids end up going into those like default systems. And I think that's what we're talking about today.
And David, lean into those stories. One, that's just high level podcasting. So that's one. That's what people come for. I think two, though, and I don't want that question to just, because people are gonna dump a lot of that on charters, but like, look at Everybody Hates Chris. Look at Hoop Dreams. Like, people have been putting those kids on buses or the subway or BART or trains. Like, you can't go to school here. And what that's what it was in Everybody Hates Chris. He couldn't go to school in Bed-Stuy. He had to go out to like a Jewish school that his family was able to get him in, a different school that his siblings went to, or like even me, I had to get on BART and go to school, like, because we was homeless or moving around, lived in East Oakland, deep East in the hundreds, and came all the way out to Lafayette because that's where I started at. And so again, like, people are gonna do what they have to do to escape dire like straits. And I think the lazy argument in 25 is that it's these charter schools, is this, is that. But like, since all of us were kids, we all know somebody that was getting bused somewhere, getting on to go somewhere, or they got somebody's address. And, I think that's what radicalized me, Jube and team, was that I watched my mom. My mom went to, and these things, David, because the area. My mom wanted me to go to Berkeley High, because Berkeley High is the best traditional public school in the Bay. It was designed by UC Berkeley, but we didn't live in Berkeley. We lived in North Oakland. Everybody in our church lived in Oakland, but all their kids went to Berkeley, even though all these good church folks, they was lying. They was lying about where they were, because my mom and dad both had had been to jail before. And my mother got denied. She got denied for the inter-district transfer. They also told her, and I watched them, they said, ma'am, if you get caught fraudulently stealing education, you will go to jail. You will go to jail. Like, they was locking people up for that. I saw my mom crying at the dinner table. She never saw it, never knew I saw her. And I played it off the next day. I was like, Mom, I don't want to go to Berkeley. I want to go to, because she was about to do it. She was about to take the chance. I was like, I want to go Emory across the street. I ain't got to go far. That's the decision that so many people are making. So when I see people get on a high horse about all these schools or where they may be, but they kids get chauffeured or already got a good school in their area, people will take jail chances for their kids to be in a good situation.
So the one interesting part of, and so we're talking about transportation. So for 2 years of my K-12, I was bused. I think it was the last 2 years of my elementary school. So back then it was grades 5 and 6 before they changed it. So we went from my neighborhood school, which was getting, the demographic was changing with, Southeast Asian, Vietnamese, Laotian, Cambodian, young people, right? All fleeing from the conflict that the U.S., had a hand in Southeast Asia. And so it's a highly immigrant population, and it just changed the demographic of the school. The schools didn't know how to deal with it. School became unsafe. My parents were like, my mom was like, you're not going to that school anymore. We're going to move you to the other side of the tracks. And so she petitioned somehow, got me put on a bus for 2 years. But the challenge with busing is like, you can, you know, they say you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig, right? You're sending young people from communities into other communities where those teachers are not equipped, not trained to deal with like students like me. So I come into a school now that's almost all white teaching staff. Even back then, we can talk about like teacher seniority and who gets to work at the higher income schools, who gets to work at the schools in the quote unquote neighborhoods. And those teachers were not equipped to deal with us. So when we came over, we were like coming from another planet for these teachers. And I had the same teacher for 5th and 6th grade. And she was an evil woman and she made my life hell. But I quickly realized, I'm like, wow, not all teachers care about children. You know, she was just like mad because the bus dropped me off late, you know, 3 out of 5 days. Not my fault, you know. It woke me up. And after that, I was like, I want to go back to my neighborhood middle school. I don't want to go back to this other school that they're going to send me to. And so I went back. And I think that was a good move overall. But I got to see it from the lens of being a 5th and 6th grader, you know, what the challenges are when you just say like, well, let's just put people on buses. That'll solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. Oh, sigh. So, family.
Miss Dumont.
Our families. And shout out to Toya, Bill, whoever HRAP 30 is. Thank you for joining us today. So families, right? Going back to a point that Charles often brings us back to. We got what we got, and we're all by ourselves, and no one is coming to save us. And so, given that we know this, how can we empower our families and our viewers that are faced with this? Because it doesn't seem to be going away, right? I just in my reading today, there are still like Montgomery County, which is 45 minutes away from me, arguing over redrawing districts. It's always the haves, the have-nots. Can't figure out why we can't get the neighborhood school right. You know, and I know that there's many different reasons connected to funding sources and again, the haves and the have-nots, but like, how can we empower our families, right? And so I'll use myself as an example. I live in one of the most wealthiest counties probably in the country. Like there's probably a couple of Cali spots that are above where I'm at, but this is one of the wealthiest Black counties in the United States of America. And my son's schools are, I won't call them trash, right? But they're not the best. They're decent. And the only way that I have kind of, you know, stayed encouraged is the fact that I have some information as an educator or what have you, but I have to keep, you know, foots on necks. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, though, my younger son, I thought, okay, he needs something different, a smaller school environment. Right. The school that they go to now that they're both in is probably about 2,600 students. And it's a couple miles away from where we live. And they put the 9th graders in the annex. So you go there for a year and then you go to the big campus when you are sophomore and up. But I applied for my younger son to be in a charter school. Right. And, you know, I managed the charter school portfolios, but of course there's legal things. So I went through, he got in the lottery. He went to that school that had, I want to say about 400 students for about 7 school days. And he hated every single day. We had to get up earlier, drive about 40 minutes to another town because out here where we are, there is no transportation. So it is, if you go to a charter school, you must pay for transportation, like one of those van services or, you know, private yellow buses, or you got to drive them and pick them up every day, right? Their waiting list is always long. They're on U.S. News, World Report. I mean, great school. My son hated it. All right. So then I was like so heartbroken because I was like, oh my God, they have strong teachers and the resources. He was like, but mommy, they don't have like high school things. Like I want I want sports, and I want the marching band, and I want the autonomy, and I want the largesse of all of those things. So I ended up acquiescing and putting him back into the Boundary School. And he's doing okay. But anyway, I say all that to say I tried the whole, get outside of the boundary school thing to try to give another option that I really, thought was better. It was better in some ways for him, in other ways it was not, because of the kind of kid he was. And so now I'm just trying to make boundary schools, do what they're responsible for doing. Right. So that's my little story. Anyhow, how do we support our families, given that this is a truth? We know that boundary schools are going to be a thing. And I'll stop there. How can we support our families? What can we offer?
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh.
No, I mean, I think it's just a lot of repetition of things that we've talked about in the past, right? So, like Doc would say something like, we've got to empower our families with information. How do we get our families to understand? How do we get our kids to understand this is what's going on with you? These are the things you should ask of your teachers. These are the schools that are available. Because, like, I love that idea, but not everyone's going to do what's best by kids, for example. So one of the things that, like, our school did, and I know I talk about our school, but I just talk about it because it's like what I got. It's our experience. But what EPLA did when we were only in middle school, dude, we invited all of the high schools in El Paso who had really great programs to our school, like a college fair, to come recruit our kids. And they came in droves. I mean, the magnet schools that were focusing on law, the magnet schools that were focusing on medicine, all the early colleges. But more importantly, during advisory, we were getting them equipped. These are all the different choices that you have. This is where these choices may lie. I'm all about empowering our families to have that. But, like, could you imagine if, like, we went into middle schools or K through 8s and, like, started a program in 7 through 8 and, like, here are all the schools that you could go to in high school, and here's the transportation that we're going to provide, and, like, here's a way of helping you understand how to make the best choice. Because sadly, man, this is also what happens with college. So I do this for free. I need to start, like, documenting it, but I could be getting paid $250 an hour from rich parents on consulting their kids on how to get into Ivy League schools. You know what I'm saying? And like what schools do what, and what chances do you have of getting into these schools, and what makes your application more pronounced? How do you even apply to these schools? Because, like, yo, man, if you haven't, like, cured cancer, good luck getting into Stanford these days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a matter of empowering families with information, but I also think it's about, like, how our schools are being significantly more transparent with our kids about options, and ensuring that like conversation, not getting talked at, not just like going to the auditorium for one-off presentation. These schools are doing some stupid ass shit. And I think people do stupid ass shit. They're like, yeah, we solved the problem. We had a 15-minute fucking talk with all the kids, like it was Lean on Me, inside of the auditorium, and told them what the options are. I'm like, man, don't give a fuck about your broke ass presentation. But if it was happening in a small classroom where kids got to interact and ask questions, it's just like, it's ironic to me that educators have no idea how to fucking educate.
Yeah, yes, and it makes me think that perhaps we did more with less. Like, I don't know. Like, we threw a lot of money at education. We've been throwing a lot of money at education. And again, I know there are deep inequities when we're talking about zone schools, and what you drive in one community and they got lights and chandeliers, they got a welcome committee and water bottles and all the big old, fields, football fields, and all the things. You go to other things, it's like a broke down little man at the corner handing out, I don't know, shish kebabs, dried up, dehydrated shish kebabs. I don't know, right? But, like, so we know that exists. But I'm wondering if that's ever all it took, right? Like, is there something that we're missing that could still support our families and our students to get where they need to get? I mean, when I was a kid in the 80s, growing up in the crack era, stepping over crack, like, I know my school wasn't the best. I know I didn't learn a lot of geography because my fifth grade teacher was absent for 2 months. But I was safe, right? I learned to read really early. Like
But that's the point. But you just made the point though. Like that's the thing. There are parents that's like, I'm not going for that shit. Listen, man, like there are parents that's like, this is not okay, and I don't like this. I went from one high school to where they treated you like you was in jail and checking your stuff and going through things, and you can't really talk or have conversations with adults. To then the high school when we moved to Stockton, and I ended up going to Bear Creek for that last year. I'm seeing kids pull up in sports cars. I'm seeing kids come in the classroom with Starbucks and like, and the teachers having conversations with them. How was your day? What did you do? Like there was no having to campaign to go to the bathroom. It just was like they treat you like a human. Like, and I'm sorry for that's worth getting on 3 buses. That's worth like if the alternative is what it is. Like again, I grew up in Oakland, California. McClymonds High School is where they shot The Substitute. Like the movie The Substitute was shot at McClymonds High School, same school Bill Russell went to, right? And like it shit wasn't too far off from reality, man. Like motherfuckers was getting robbed in school. Like I'm sorry, like I get it, and I am for equity and equality and getting this stuff right. But right now it's a figment of the imagination in a lot of different ways for a lot of people, and I just. And usually the people that's at the forefront of these conversations, they're not making these type of decisions for their kids. And also it's not my job to tell David what's the best school for his kid. Let me give you an example. If I'm a basketball player and I'm trying to go to a school that's going to get seen, then I want to go to a power OAL Oakland school like McClymonds or Tech, because unless you can go to St. Joe's or one of the Catholic schools, those schools end up on TV. Those schools end up being seen. Gary Payton went to Skyline. Marshawn Lynch went to Tech. If you somebody that has a creative kid, maybe you want a smaller charter school that's doing maker spaces and things like that. It's not that's why I say like give people the information. And the reason why I do say that team and is because the vast majority still are gonna just choose the school that's zoned to them. The vast majority still going to just choose the school that their parents went to. So, I mean, I don't want to make an issue about the tragedy of the commons per se, but at this older age, now working in education, I've visited so many schools that have such vastly different experiences. I did some work in Indianapolis. The kids guide their own education. And like they're proficient, like they don't wait for teachers. Teachers are seen more as helpmates. Like they are. It's a school that was built in conjunction with the program with Purdue, like Polytech or something like that. Beautiful school. I couldn't even fathom. Like I'm watching 15-year-olds navigate and get a better education than a lot of kids that's in a junior college right now. So, what was that story we did, David? What I think we did on this show. And that school, it was like an Indiana school, and it was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that one that looked like a college with like the radio station and like the big ass fields
we
and like
all the shit we want. If the schools that I went to and David went to and O went to and Jubilee just talked about stepping over crackheads and shit, and then that's an option, and it's an hour away. You know what my parents say? It's only an hour away. I don't give a shit if you like it or not. Jubilee, kudos to you for listening to your kid. If my parents were in that position, they'd be like, I don't like a lot of shit. They'd be like, I don't like going to work every day. I don't know what you'll appreciate it later, or you won't. But this isn't a discussion between child and parent. This is you're going where I'm sending you to go. But now a different show. I like all black schools. I like all brown schools. I like schools that dig into what that community wants and needs. But in lieu of that, this is what we're gonna get, and we're gonna get smart people with college degrees like us who are upperly mobile being like it should be equitable. It ain't. So in lieu of that, what we gonna tell people?
So
the
thank
French
you.
Riviera.
HRAP 30 said I went to segregated black schools during this period of segregation in America. We had great administrators and teachers who truly loved their students. The goal was for them to excel and succeed. So that was my point is, right? And I get what you're saying, and I agree. And I think there's a continuum here. I think, to your point, there's gonna be parents that's like, look, we're gonna stay over here. It's 5 minutes away. I could get to you. I work over there, right? And so this is convenient, and that's what it's going to be. And then there is the travel an hour away, get on the school bus, like the example I gave earlier at 5 a.m.
Mhm.
And so what if your school day is 12 hours long? You're safe, you're learning, you're coming back smarter than you left, and I'm good to go, right? And so I think there's parents on both sides of the continuum. David, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I'm good for now. I'll wait till closing thoughts.
Well, here we are because it's
Yep, we're here, baby. We got 5 minutes left. It's time.
I mean,
time, baby.
I just wish. I mean, I think one solution, and what I wish is that we could move away from this like idea, this concept of scarcity in education, because that's really what is driving these systems that work to limit where kids can go to school and the kinds of schools that they can attend. So my hope for the future, if I had a magic wand, would be for school systems to really move away from their own self-interests and migrate towards a mindset where they're focused on what students want and need and what families are asking for. And I think in the absence of that, I think information is powerful. Even simple things like, we were working in Oakland at one time on a system of unified enrollment. So that didn't work. Okay. It's too much skin in the game for people.
You can say why it didn't work later, but yeah.
And then, I mean, yeah, of course. And so we said, okay, well, at a minimum, let us develop a school finder tool that the charters can promote, that the district can promote, that includes all public schools in Oakland, charter and district. So if you're a family, you go to one school finder platform and you can see all the public schools, right? And they shot that down too, right? And that no longer exists. And so I just think when adults with ulterior motives get involved, trying to protect systems, trying to protect employment for adults, we lose sight of really, who we're serving. And that's not the workers, that's not the teachers, right. It's students and it's their families, right? And that's so. I mean, that's really the big issue. And we could add on to that, like private school choice and the stuff. But I mean, in California, unfortunately, we're talking about public school choice, and it's still it's a hard time for charter schools in many areas of California, because people are focused on the wrong things. But I think at the end of the day, parents will always find a way, and they always do. So yeah.
Agreed. Omar, final thoughts?
I think I have no idea how to create equity in an inequitable society. One idea, one thought is why we're not paying teachers more to teach in more difficult schools. Like, the way the system is set up, right, is that you're rewarded by going to teach in like the quote nice school, the rich school, the easy school, and those kids are going to be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had some teachers that I'm like, what the kind of bumbaclot shit is this? Like, I'm just teaching myself anyways. So you're like non-irie ass inside of the classroom. Like, why are you getting paid? You're like a pinchy meat popsicle at this point. Whereas we need exceptionally good teachers for kids that need it. And I think that you start creating greater equity by having better teachers at high needs schools. And then what happens? Now all of a sudden the rich kids want to go to these schools
Mhm.
because they know that the good teachers are over there. All right, cool. Good luck. Good luck. So in a world of ludicrous inequity, money talks. And I think that the money really should be on paying teachers exceptionally well to teach in the more difficult schools with superintendents that have the balls to actually say we need to fix the inequities of education versus just listening to rich ass parents.
Mm.
That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
Great show, Jube. I would say, as somebody who used to go out when he was younger, I've seen broke people bribe bouncers to get in the club. What
Mhm.
you think rich people would do for their kids' education?
Mhm.
Like, I know broke people that used to beg me for gas money, but had enough to to try to hit off a bouncer. What you think? What you think the lady from Full House, the type of time they was on? You can equalize this shit as much as you want, or the illusion of equality and equity. People with resources and means are going to find a way to get an upper hand. They just are. I think it's so many ways to slice this topic, and I was struggling because I still don't know if we were supposed to be doing the show, if this is Charles in his head, right? I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing the show off of hope and what I wish were true, or the current realities of what is, and answering the questions from that perspective. Because I'm very hopeful. Like, if I had a magic wand, I agree with everything David O and you said, Jube, all of it, like what it should be. But I work in that gray, like right now, that kind of social worker-esque of like, these are the options. The options is crackhead school, underfunded school where people don't care, and then busting out and driving out over here, or playing a sport and going to a Catholic school. And again, have you guys ever seen Hoop Dreams? Did y'all watch Hoop Dreams?
Yeah, great movie, man.
Great movie. And Jube, I don't know if you've seen it, so I'll give a quick synopsis of one of the stories, right? And the kid is now grown and still in the west side of Chicago, coaching other people. If you know Patrick Beverly, he's one of the people that helped Pat become one of the best basketball players. But it was these incredible young Chicago ball players, and one of them got recruited by a private school, and then shit went south, and that school didn't give a shit about him. They actually held him hostage. One of the kids had a baby, you know what I'm saying, like in the process, and the school just wasn't rocking with him. What I'm saying is, ain't nobody out here caring about like what's right, what's this, what's that. Everybody trying to kind of make it away, and you got to be on the swivel. You got to kind of, if you don't know the hustle, chances are you getting hustled. And I don't know how to better prepare parents for the realities without being very harsh. And I never want to stamp out hope, but I want people to have real options and choices. So this is a great show just because I'm unsettled by it. I can't firmly sit in none of these answers, because you can add in one thing and I can completely sway a different way. And for that reason, I hope we get to do it again and dive into it. So great topic.
For sure. Well, that is quite lovely. I mean, what you all have said resonates with me deeply. So here's my thoughts, right? I agree with the teacher quality piece. I was a New York City teaching fellow, which means I didn't go to college for education. They hired and they were like, hey, you can go teach in the Bronx. I'm like, I'm not going to teach in the Bronx. I'm from East New York, Brooklyn. So me and my father went and we found a school. Like, can I teach here? Yes, you can. Very good, because it's a high poverty area as well. They're like, cool, we're gonna pay for half your master's. You will take the rest out of your paycheck. We'll pay the rest. You don't have to. When you get your master's, you'll be debt free. Like, that was the incentive. And around that same time, there was TFA. You feel how you want to feel about TFA, but the idea was get people who want to be in these communities, who want to teach, who want to learn, get these schools staffed with folks that are learning to be qualified or at least conditionally certified, that are on the track to be certified. So I do think that is key. I think overall for me as a parent and an educator, I've seen it on both sides, and I don't think that you can get equity, for your kid or anybody else's kid without a fight. I think it doesn't matter if the school is a boundary school / neighborhood school, a private school, a colloquial school, a Montessori school. It just doesn't matter, because I've seen across the spectrum, quality of educators, it just varies, right? Like, I make no assumption that just because a school is a a charter school or a private school or whatever school is going to have better, right? There's a lot of different criteria that I use to determine whether or not, you know, a school is high quality, right? Anyhow, so thinking about my sons, right, and back to the story that I told about moving my other son from that charter school that is like a high performance school back to his comprehensive schools, because there's more resources, right? More resources connected to what he is interested in, right? And me knowing as a parent what I demand of my kids, knowing what I deserve and can demand from the school system and from each and every teacher that stands in front of my child, right? For me, that is the common denominator, right? That I know what to expect. I know what to ask for. And of course, I had to learn this new system down here because New York is a little bit different. But I think me knowing all of these pieces and knowing how to fight and what to ask for was part of the reason I said, you know what, fine, you know, you can go there. Sydney, the one that was on last week, our beloved guest from last week, he has 6 AP courses, right? Because I know you need more rigor. You're bored over here. Let me go to the guidance counselor and ask this lady to sign my kid up for this math AP track. Well, can he do it? Yes, he can do it. Do you sign? Yes, I approve. And he got A's in all of them. Okay. So it's just like knowing what you need for your kid, and then demanding that the school system provide, you know, for your kid and meet them where they are. But also listening to the voice of my kids to see what they're interested in, because I don't want nobody moping around for 4 years. I want you to be able to produce and get scholarships connected to your passion, your interest, and your academics. So say all that to say, again, there's a continuum. And I think the common denominator is what we can do as families, as parents, as educators, to know what we can advocate for, what we can ask for. And I don't think that changes. And I think nobody gets a pass. No kind of school gets a pass. Charter school, comprehensive, traditional, no school gets a pass. And those are my final thoughts.
Well, as Jubilee has just been tagged, an expert parent and a great show producer. We got Omar, the most interesting man in the world, you know. We got David Castillo, the beard of wisdom, beard of knowledge. I still don't know after 200 and some odd episodes. And I am Charles. We will see you all next week, same bad time, same bad station. In the meantime, please share this show. Share with your people. Leave us comments. We talk back to you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, H-Rap. Thank you, Mama Toya. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mama Jube. Thank you for being here.
Yay.
And with that, we'll see y'all next time. Peace.